Welcome back to another critical review. Today we're going to take a look at Star Wars Legion. So, Star Wars Legion, Fantasy 5 Games, bought it out a while ago now. And I'm specifically talking about the Imperial part of Star Wars Legion, so the original trilogy one. Clone Wars is due to drop in 4 days at the point of recording, and I haven't done anything yet, but I'm assuming some of the points I have in here are going to be relevant for Clone Wars stuff because it looks like the exact same thing is happening, but gameplay-wise, it is almost like a second edition, so if you're looking at getting into Clone Wars, take this with a grain of salt and tune back in about 2 or 3 months for the actual Clone Wars one. Because I am going to get Clone Wars, but just full disclosure, this is for the older one. So, I got some of my minis there. I'll maybe put some photos up, maybe I won't. Anyway, so the way these things work, 5 good points, 3 points that I don't really like, or things I wish were changed, or things other people don't like or wish were changed. When I say that, I mean things people in my local area is like, well, why don't you play the game? It's like, well, it's X, Y, and Z. It's like, okay, there's valid points, and you hear that enough. So that sort of thing. I should make clear that, yeah, not all the negative, almost all the positive and negative things are my own opinions, but occasionally I will actually ask people around me or take a look online. I generally don't watch and read a lot of reviews because I don't want to get influenced by them and then just basically copy them. That's not what I want to do. So let's start with number 1. Number 1, card activations. I really like this. So, if you've seen some of the other reviews I've done, you'll know that I have a bit of an issue with random activations in that I don't like full randomness because it just takes all the, like if it says, if a game is something like every unit has an individual number and then that's unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, unit 4, shuffle them in a bag and draw them out, and you have to activate unit 1 with that. I really hate that. That's probably the most hated thing. I don't like games where you're not guaranteed to at least have 1 activation per turn. So that's a bit of an issue I have with sharp practice, where you're almost always going to, but there is chances that you just won't, or stuff like that. Anyway, but the way Star Wars Legion does it is each unit has a token, or each unit class has a token. Sorry. So you have your HQ specialist. The troops are called corps for some reason. CORPS corps. No, a squad of guys is not a corps. I don't know why they call them. Anyway, that's it. Anyway, that's just it's bizarre when I can activate a corps with this. There's barely a platoon. Anyway, so you have like your troops, your HQs, that sort of thing, and you have your activation cards. And these just maybe they're not called activation cards. That's what I call them. So I'll put some photos up there. So they have a pip in the corner, and they have a number of units and an ability sometimes. So it'll say, I'll just make one up. I can't remember off the top of my head. 2 pips, Vader. 2 pips, Luke, and 2 units gain a dodge token at the start of the turn. And so you get to place 2 activation tokens beside 2 units, 1 beside Luke, and put a dodge token on when they activate. And the pips, the lower number of pips, the better, because the person with the lowest pips gets to go first. And so you get a situation where it's okay, well, this 1 pip card really basically lets Vader activate, and it doesn't do anything really. Again, I'm just making this off the top of my head. I should have actually gone and read some of the cards, but this 1 pip card lets 1 unit activate, whereas the 4 pip card lets 4 pip units activate, sort of thing. So the lower pips let you go faster, but you have less control. So what happens to the units who don't activate? Well, they all have tokens for their troop class and are shuffled into a little stack, and you just draw them out. We lay them out on the table and pick them up one by one. You can draw them out, whatever. You can put them in a little bag. And so when it's your turn to activate, you do a thing, opponent does a thing, you do a thing, they do a thing, you do a thing, they do a thing. So it's it's not an I go, you go. It's an alternative activation, which is awesome. Love that. So yeah, the activation system is really cool. And so you turn a thing over. It's a troop choice. I call it. I'm not calling it a core. It's a troop choice. And so I have 5 troop choices, so I can pick any one of those 5. Or you can do one of the guys who's got a token next to them. So yeah, it's really, really cool. A really good way of doing it. I think it's a really good balance of randomness and planning. You can plan to a degree, and after that it's random. That's exactly how you should do wargame activations. Number 2, it's very easy to build a force. You have a card with a number on it, that's how many points it is, and then you have everything else is on upgrade cards. I'm not a big fan of mandatory I'm not a fan of mandatory cards and mandatory tokens, but if you look at the cards as a non-mandatory thing, because you can, of course, get digital copies, there's Battlescribe have all the stats and profiles and stuff, so you don't actually physically need the cards. You can use the Battlescribe stuff, but it is nice to have the cards. So you can go, okay, 50-point unit, and I've got all these upgrade cards, I can just plug and play into it. That's it. You don't need to worry about, well, I'll make them veterans for 1 point, or I'll do all this niche stuff, or if I take the early version of the Stormtroopers, are a little bit more expensive. Everything's just on the card. And each unit has their own cards. The cards tell you what type of upgrades you can have. So you're not bouncing around going, okay, did the Stormtroopers, are they able to take the thermal grenades or only the smoke grenades? Well, it's just got grenades. Okay, they can have any type of grenades. So it's very easy to build a force. It does not take long at all to put something together for a pickup game. Building it takes a while. Building it doesn't take a while. Painting it takes a while. Building it is very easy. The only minis that are actually on sprues are all the new droid stuff, but everything else is just like resin stuff in a little plastic bag. But it's really good quality plasticky type resin. So yeah. Number 3, it uses different dice. It's a D8 system with D6 for defense dice, and essentially, you roll your D8s and different type of, you know how this stuff works. There are different colors of D8s, and they're different. Some are better than others. Some have more attack things on them. Some have more surge things on them. Surge is like if you have a special ability, a surge triggers it. The defense dice are D6. Red's better than whites. And the different dice are cool because you can. It's a good way for the game to be able to allocate different. I know it's a basic concept for gaming out there, but it's cool that they've incorporated it into this game. So instead of the Stormtrooper getting a +1 to hit, you just roll a better dice and leave it up to chance. Stormtroopers are generally worse at shooting with better armor, but they can take actions which make them better at shooting, whereas the Rebels are generally better at shooting with weaker armor, but they can take actions which make them more defensive. I haven't seen any of the new Jedi, any of the new Clone Wars stuff, so yeah. Generally the Rebels are a lot more lightly armored, more glass cannony, not always, but generally. And the Stormtroopers like to tank hits and just wade through. So yeah, the different dice is really cool. Generally, they don't actually give you enough dice. They do give you enough dice, but not if you... The 2-player starter set doesn't actually give you a legal army. You sort of have to get 2 and put them together, which is fine. That's what we all did anyway. Everyone pretty much just bought 2 starter sets and swapped bought 1 starter set and swapped with someone else. But if you want enough dice to have a game with 1 person on each side, you probably want to get another set of dice. But they are really cool. It's really nice to be able to not have to go through a list of modifiers. And for this game, for other games, it's really cool to have a whole bunch of modifiers. But for Star Wars Legion, the type of game it is, it's nice to be able to just go red dot, red dice, black dot, black dice. It's super easy. Number 4, the units are very symbiotic. The game looks like it's been designed as a whole, and then sort of everything's been paired up, and it's like, okay, well, we need something to feel. It almost feels a little bit scientific, but that could be a good thing. At least they've actually paid attention to it, unlike a couple of other games out there where they just throw in rules for no reason, and it's like, well, that broke the entire game. Anyway, not going to name names. Well, Star Wars Legion is really cool, so it's okay. This unit is very clearly meant to work with this unit in this circumstance, or this unit is meant to operate with this leader, or they work really well. You don't have to; they can work just as well without. But you can tell if you run these type of guys with Han Solo that's really going to help them out. Or if you run Luke with a squad of these guys, it's really getting the maximum potential out of them. So it's very symbiotic, and it's built to be symbiotic. It's not something that's accidentally they've thrown a bunch of rules out there and it's like, oh look, we accidentally did something. They've clearly taken the time and effort to sit down and go, right, we want people to be able to build fun lists and fluffy lists. So fluffies, you guys know what fluffy means. We want Luke to be running around with these type of units. We want Leia to have these sort of units. So we want Han Solo to be doing this. We want Chewie should be quite comfortable around other Wookiees. So what are some things we can put in here where it encourages people to run these themed fluffy lists? and not to the level where Lord of the Rings does it, where basically if you want to run a want to run a Rohan army with that Theoden, you can just go, jump off a bridge. Anyway, Star Wars Legion has got a really good balance between forcing you to do fluffy stuff and giving you the option not to. It's really cool. Number 5, it's Star Wars. Star Wars is really cool. It's a really awesome background they can draw from. They've got so much types of units they can go after. They've got Tatooine, they've got urban environments. My stuff's all urban, but they've got snow troopers, they've got Hoth terrain. They can go back and do the prequels. If they're smart and they want a bunch of my money, they'll go back and do the Old Republic, as in the Revan type stuff. They've just got so much they can work with. Star Wars is such a massively appealing brand, and this is one for not so much the gameplay itself, but for actually playing the game. It's cool. Behind me is 8 armies for sharp practice, and the reason I have 8 armies for sharp practice is because I like to play 4 different periods of sharp practice, and I need an opponent. And it's tricky to get people to want to play. A lot of the time, it's sort of like someone will play every 2 months or so. You'll get a game, and sometimes someone will come down for the weekend and you have 10 games in 2 weeks or something. But you got to have both sides. With Star Wars, you can just get someone who plays X-Wing, and you're like, hey, cool, there's a Star Wars tabletop game. Oh, sweet, yeah, I'll grab some stuff for that, and we'll play. Whereas convincing someone that plays 40k, hey, why don't you play Napoleon at War and buy a whole bunch of miniatures you have no idea what they are about a period you're not really that interested in, because I really want to play this cool game and have an opponent. But with Star Wars, you can just go, hey, dude, Star Wars. Oh, yeah, sweet, I'll pick up some of that. It's a good selling point. It means you're probably always going to have opponents for it. So onto some things that are a bit... the missions in the veto system is basically... you're basically just deciding how you deploy, and then you're picking the thing where it says no effect. That's essentially how almost all the games I've seen come up with. Unless someone is very tactical and very gamey, okay, so the way you do it is you have 4 mission cards, 4 effect cards, and 4 deployment cards. You discard one of each, and then you lay them out in 3 lines, and the one on the left is the one you're going to do. And then each player gets 2 actions, which can be a veto or a pass. And since the missions basically always devolve into just killing one another. Every single game I've ever played basically comes down to killing one another, and then the last turn you're like, oh, we happen to be very close to objectives, because they just give you so many. It's like 1 objective in the middle and then 5 around it in a big circle. It's like, well, I'm clearly going to get those 2, and you're clearly going to get those 2. So we'll just fight over the central objective, in which case, why bother with the external ones? The missions are pretty cookie cutter, and I'm not a fan of them. And eventually, basically that veto thing just turns into, well, that deployment zone looks weird, and we're going to have a bitch of a time laying it out, and I don't really want to do that. Or you've got a whole bunch of long-range stuff, so I don't want long-range deployment zones. Let's just go for the standard across the table one. I think that with only 4, if there were 20 different deployment zones, obviously that's a huge number, but if there were 20 different missions and they were all a central objective, or maybe one objective's weren't on the right wing there, but the left half of the board gives you points, so just some weird stuff. So say there's an objective on the right side of the board, there's a single piece which is 10 points for whoever has the most models in there, but for each unit you have on the left third of the board is an extra point. So you got to balance okay, well, we'll find the objective, but I also want to outbalance you over there, something like that. And then the guys in the center are basically useless, so you pretty much have 2 sort of separate battles, and you reinforce something that would be interesting, rather than just slamming together in the middle, or one person just anchoring in, and their entire action is basically just to aim and shoot, or dodge and shoot. I'm not a fan of defensive games where you don't move around. Look at any defensive battle in history, you're going to find it was pretty much not just a case of sitting there doing nothing while the other people acted and you just shot at them. There was quite a lot of counter-attacking movement involved, and there should be for defensive war games. Number 2, remember how I said everything is really symbiotic and it works really well, and it's all tailored to go together and very thematic. That kind of gets ruined when you realize that there's 2 months in between each release, and each release is normally a character and then a unit for each thing, or sometimes it's only Rebels or only Imperials. So you have these really, really cool troops. It's these are going to work awesome when the Han Solo miniature comes out in 6 months. So, and the rules aren't in the book. The rules are in the book, freely available to download, by the way. That's a big positive. But the cards are the only way to get the actual points values, aside from going on something like Battle Scribe and trusting them to have it right, which they don't always do. So until the miniature is released, you can't even proxy a model, you can't convert your own, you basically have to wait till that comes out. And so all these cool setups that have been... I remember when it first came out, I can't remember if it was Rebels or Imperials, but out of our group, the one side just kept winning. Because the stuff that came in the starter set and the first wave was really weighted towards them, but then when the character and another unit came out for the other side, it sort of balanced everything out. But so this might be something to look out for Clone Wars, is the release schedule can really play havoc with the game balance because of the symbiotic nature. Everything's connected to everything else. When they introduce a new unit, sometimes they're planning 6 months in the future for sales purposes. I mean, for sales purposes, it's very smart not to just dump everything at once, because people get bored and they run out of your game, and people actually get addicted. Myself, I'm a bit guilty of this too. They get addicted to looking at the pre-order thing on the Games Workshop page. You're always going, oh, what's for pre-order? Oh, it looks so cool. You never buy any of it, but you're always looking for the pre-orders, and then 6 months later, when that really cool pre-order thing's on the shelf, you don't even look at it, but you just want to get the next pre-order. You want to see the next pre-order, the new thing. I'm not too bad with that, but there are some people who are just obsessed with rumors on what's coming out. There are whole websites dedicated to it. And Star Wars Legion sort of uses that. Hey, fair play to them, but it does sort of play havoc with their game balance and with the way that the lists sort of form up. So the release schedule is a bit of a negative. Number 3. Okay. This seems like a really cool thing, but it's not, because it gets gamey and it's really annoying. Okay, you have these dumb measuring sticks. Okay, that's a picture of them. They're dumb. I don't care what you say. For vehicles, they're fine. I would love for these to be used for the speeder bikes and the ATSTs. These would actually be really cool to use in vehicles and other games like 40k and stuff like that. Basically, it's a stick, hinge, stick. These are dumb because you can't move less than the stick. You have to move that far. So the infantrymen apparently, like, you get an infantry in a corner or it's like a tough spot where I want to do this. Well, you can't, because the stick's not that long. I don't want to move it fully out because then I'll expose myself, but I do want to get behind this wall because this guy's back there. No, you can't move. You gotta stay where you are. Apparently you're not capable of taking 2 steps forward and stopping. The sticks are dumb. The way the movement works, the way shooting works, okay, this is where it gets gamey as hell, right? The way shooting works is you measure from your leader to the closest enemy model in the enemy unit. You can pick what unit you shoot at, which is good, but so you go from my leader to your trooper. But what you can do is, and cover is based on 50%. So what you can do is you can have your leader standing out. So you've got, you'll do a picture. You've got your leader there, your unit there, a piece of cover there, and the enemy there. So you draw from your leader to the enemy, and you can basically shoot at people not in cover and it's just a dumb. So you can basically use your leader to sit out in the open and shoot at people you wouldn't be able to see. The way leader movement works is like there's a little alleyway. You can move your leader fully through the alley and then just put all the guys outside the alley on the front, because they can actually move like double the amount the leader does, because all they have to do is be in cohesion of him. It's just not a smart way of doing it. I don't like it. I get it's meant to be simple, but get rid of the sticks. Get rid of the dumb range sticks too. It's 6 inches. Just say 6, 12, 18, 24. I get it's based on, it's like a board game thing, and they're trying to appeal to board gamers. For anyone still using those measuring sticks, it's literally 6, 12, 18, and 24. It's just 6-inch bands. The movement ones, I don't like that at all. That has to just be done with inches. I really dislike being forced to move that far. It takes away your ability. And then when if you have any sort of terrain and you want to interact with it in any way, you want to run through a building, you want to climb upstairs, then yeah, have fun. But getting the thing down and twisting it around and knocking stuff over, instead of just having a tape measure and bending the tape measure, it's just, yeah. If they got rid of those little stupid elbow things, I'd be much, much happier. There you go. I think that's the first really vicious negative thing I've said, and I don't think it was that bad, but I really dislike those things. Okay, so what is the big special thing about this game? What's the thing that you're gonna, if you said to somebody like, oh, why should I play Star Wars Legion, like an elevator pitch type of thing, what would it be? Well, I think it's that Star Wars Legion is not a wargamer's wargame. And I'm not talking crap about anyone who's not a wargamer. Star Wars Legion is basically a really cool way to get people who are not wargamers into wargaming, to get people who are not wargamers into our hobby. to get people at your club who maybe they bring a board game to the club every meet, or maybe that you know that they're part of a board gaming group, or you go around their house and they love to board game, but it's like, I'd really like to play some Star Wars Legion, but Bill, I'll get Bill involved. Bill loves his Star Wars, Bill loves his board games. This is basically, a lot of board game mechanics. You're rolling coloured dice. You've got your movement templates. I hate them, but anyway. You've got your ranged band templates. You don't need to buy tape measures. Bill can play without having painted miniatures because the bases are all different colours. It's it very much feels, and it probably was, designed for a much wider audience than something like Battle Group or Napoleon at War, which is sort of this is it's almost like you're expected to be a wargamer to play those things, and that's not a negative. If every game was like Star Wars Legion, we'd all go insane. But it's really, really cool that there are games like Star Wars Legion out there, where if someone even comes to your club and like, I really want to get into this miniature gaming thing, what should I do? Not really into the sci-fi, not really into the fantasy. I don't want to, as in 40k or Malifaux or 40k or Mantic or something. Like, I don't really want to read all those novels. I just want to play some sort of game that I'll already know a bit of background for. You can go, oh look, here's the Star Wars game. Oh, I know about Star Wars. Is it hard? No, you've got all the sticks and you got the dice and the miniatures, and you don't really have to paint them. But hey, if you want to get into wargaming, it's very easy to paint stormtroopers. As long as you get Army Painter Matte White. There's a little plug there. Not sponsored or anything, but Army Painter Matte White. If you want to paint white, just use that. That's what I always use. Used it for years. Stormtroopers are very easy to paint. So, oh, cool. It's a really, really good game to get people into wargaming. So I think that's the most special thing about it. So thanks for watching, guys. Next up, I'm going to work on a review for the Game of Thrones game. A Song of Ice and Fire game, anyway. If you guys are liking what you're seeing, make sure you put in the comments below or post on the forum over on tabletop.com. I'm trying to do a few games. Star Wars Legion is not a game I've played much in the last few months. But I'm going back in time a little bit. I'm not going to go back too far. And I want to do reviews on games I actually play. So that's why I'm sort of looking around through my library of game books and stuff like that, going through all my old PDF rulebooks on the computer. I don't want to just pick up a game and like, oh, let's have a look at this and trash this game before I've even played it. I am doing that sort of stuff. So if anyone has a game they'd like to see reviewed, send me a thing. Especially if it's a historical game, I've probably got miniatures for it anyway. So I'm happy to give games a go and see how they are. Maybe I'll do a first impression series where I just run through a game for the first time and see how it is. Maybe that'll be like a partner series to this. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day.